All right, take 3. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Intern and the Expert podcast. We're back for episode 6. It's been a hot minute, a couple months in the making. You know, lots of things going on, but we're finally back for a very special episode. As always, I am one half of your co-hosts for this episode, Byron Lockhart, and I am joined by
Susan Duffy from
as
Channel.
Always. She's back, you know. It's been a hot minute.
Yes.
We were missing your last episode.
I know. Got a bit of fear of FOMO last time for not being here.
We're back.
Excited about this one.
Yep. Very special episode. So we have the founder and director of P3 Events, the lovely Penny Krishna.
Yay.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's exciting. I'm really excited about this.
Yes, I'm
one.
excited to be here too.
So should we can you tell us a little bit about your background and who P3 Events is and who you are?
Yeah, well, I'm Penny Krishna. I started in the events business as a young rookie at about 24 years of age.
Very nice.
It's only been a few years since. And yeah, I grew the business out of the need to satisfy clients that were asking for work. We have a great range of clients that are corporate, public and private events that we do. We're national. So we've got our head offices in Brisbane. We've got a branch in Melbourne and a branch in WA, and we love getting on a plane and going to Sydney, going to Tassie, wherever the work is, North Queensland. Australia-wide. So we are national. We didn't become national overnight. I didn't set out to start a business and be a national company. It grew organically. So I started working in events in Brisbane way back when for a company called Showstopper Productions. A girlfriend had put me in touch with the director there, and I worked there for about 10 years solid, loved it, was good at it. It was a natural progression for me from having done a drama degree. Well, way back when there was
talent.
a lot of talent, yes.
I'm sure we'll get into that. I want to hear all about that.
So much more sense.
Oh, please. It's a very strange cohort. Yeah, well, I mean, when I came out of school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought performance might be fun. I liked theatre. I was good at it, at the arts, and I stumbled my way into a Bachelor of Arts degree in drama, which was extremely difficult to get into. But the thing that resonated with me in that course was not so much the acting and performance, which I thought it would. It was the stage management, the technical direction and the design. I liked the back of house stuff.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah. And then I came out of that, and of course, you know, there's no job for that you can just walk into that is available that pays any bills. So, you know, I went into administration, everything, and then finally a girlfriend from the course said, "Oh, I know this guy who runs an event business. You're super organised. I think you'd be good at this." So I went for an interview, and that was the beginning, and that's at 24. So I started working. Right. I worked for that company for about 10 years, grew up their ladder, was their senior operations manager, produced massive gigs overseas as well as nationally for them.
Where overseas?
We did the launch of the Peninsula Hotel in Bangkok. Nice, I did a conference for 1,200 in Hawaii.
How old were you?
27 when I was doing these massive ones. Did a massive conference for 1,200 in New Zealand. Working in Singapore. Yeah, it was really good opportunities, and so much nationally. You know, at every convention centre in this country, I know what the back of house looks like. And so, yeah, got a lot of really good experience at really big gigs, small stuff too, but already had that supply chain with me when I eventually went out on my own.
Do you reckon it was kind of like a baptism by fire, kind of like you were thrown in the deep end sort of thing? Yeah. And I did have the two directors of that company were really good to learn from. He is a creative genius, just massive left brain, no logical plan. And
best kind.
Yeah, and she was, you know, absolutely writing the lists, preparing contracts. She taught me a lot more about stage management that I didn't even know. So I did get a really good base there. I also got the opportunity at the same time to work out how not to run a small business and how staff want to be treated in a small business because they were a small business.
Yeah, right. Good.
So it was a really good foundation to, like, if I ever did this, I would never treat my staff that way. So there was a lot of learnings from both the industry but also small business.
Well, I want to take it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Please.
One of the reasons why I think we wanted to have Penny on the show was because I'm a big fan of not just Penny's
Just a big
business,
fan, full stop.
but also some really strong qualities in Pen, which we'll talk through probably later throughout the podcast. But you're really tenacious. You're really, really good at being, assertive, and you're very authentic, though, in the way that you do it. And obviously attention to detail. So not just in your events, but as a business person. And so I kind of want to unwrap you a little bit more and understand how did you become like this? Because you are quite, like I would say, really, I don't know, I always feel good talking to you. It's always a pleasure.
My friends say that I'm the most practical and
Yes.
pragmatic person. So if there's something in their life that they need advice on,
That's right.
they will come to me and they know I will not sugarcoat it. Straight between
I
the
like
eyes.
that.
Which is what you
It's
need,
I've
right?
kinda-
Yeah.
So then when you were at school, like what made you want to do drama? And then were you always organised, and where did that come from?
The organisation, I think I'm probably a product of my mother because, if she was having a dinner party, the list started a fortnight out and the time schedule of when she needed to get the peas on, when she needed to, make sure the sorbet was coming out of this very posh. All the posh cutlery came out and we were banned. But I think it was that she's got the methodical approach.
Okay.
Both my parents, they met doing a production of Richard III at Le Bois. That's when they fell in love. So they're both in theatre.
Right.
My mother was actually a radio announcer and performer as well. So they both had a theatrical background and a bit of creative flair. Both of them painted. Dad's was a draftsman architect for years. So I had creative genes coming through, and both were somewhat organised.
Yeah, right.
Neither of my siblings went down that path. So, and I think at school, I just resonated towards arts, history, English, theatre, had the confidence to
Creative
get on
side.
stage and so forth, and the creative side. And then the degree in drama just took it further.
Yeah, right. And so when you were doing the degree, did you just kind of levitate to more of that back of house stuff, or did you not like the...
Well, you like any degree, when you start, you don't necessarily have to pick your major. And I got underway, and I mean, to be honest, there was over 1,000 people that had to audition for this course, and we were the first intake, the first year of the degree in drama. Before that, it had only been a diploma.
Was it just a degree in drama?
It was a Bachelor of Arts with a major in drama.
Yeah.
And then I picked a minor of design because we kept having to do these small productions as part of the course, and then somebody would get charged with being the director. Someone else would have to, there'd be a group that would be doing the playwriting, and I was always putting my hand up because I liked designing the sets. I mean, there was even one that we did. It was really cool. In the Metro Arts, spent a lot of hours, a lot of cigarettes in the back of the Metro Arts. But, I can't even remember what the play was about, but I based all of the scenery on Edward Munch's The Scream. So we had all these giant masks that I'd made out of string, and I loved being really hands-on with the actual textures and development of the sets.
So did you think back then, flash your mind back, did you ever have an intention of doing events?
Not at all.
No.
Knew nothing about it.
Right.
Finished the degree and just went, what do I do now?
Were you more of a very drama head back in the day?
I was a drama head. I was
films.
Yeah, I mean, old people will know. I was nearly swampy. It was the blacks and the
Oh,
bells
yeah,
and the
okay.
dark
Gotcha.
mascara and
right.
eyeliner and hippies
Moody.
and smoking things you shouldn't smoke and playing poker until 500 until 4 a.m.
Sounds fun.
So yeah, no, events was never something that I'd even considered. Hadn't even hit my radar. But I was very frustrated in an administration role. I knew I had more to me. And this girlfriend who'd done the degree with me, she was more of a performer, and she used to work for this company that I ended up going to as a performer, as a singer.
Okay.
So that's how I got the introduction. And when I went for the interview with, his name was Robert, he said, I want you to go away and come back to me with an outline of what you would do for a gala dinner for 500 people. He said, you don't have to come up with the concept, but I need to know what are the elements that you need to think about to have that event. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, you've got to have food, you've got to have tables, you've got to have decorations, you've got to have
Practical
lighting.
mind, yeah.
So I just kind of went like this, and I put, he said, just make up money, whatever you think. And I mean, my money was wrong, but I nailed all of the elements right through to something in the foyer before they come in. And he just went, yeah, you've got the knack for this, you're hired.
What did
you
your
discovered
parents?
gold.
Yeah. Were your parents like not
Oh, they
surprised?
were just so thankful.
I was
It's like, my God, she's got a job, a real job. She's
that's
got a
funny.
start of a career because, they were with the drama degree. They were like,
Yeah.
okay, go and do that.
They didn't like it. I thought they might
Yeah.
have.
So it was the right course, and I was away quickly on it, and it was a knack, and it was definitely me.
So wait, did you finish the drama and arts degree? Mm-hmm. Okay, and then you just moved
And
into
then it
that.
took me about 12 months. I thought I'd have a little go at acting. I did
Yeah.
a pizza
Did you?
commercial. Yes.
Oh,
Oh my
nice.
gosh.
Yeah, which my
We
husband
should have
brings up
dragged that.
consistently.
I was going to say, you have to
Wish
send
I'm
us a
going to
copy.
regret that. Snip that. Domino's Pizza.
Please let it be on YouTube. That's all I'm saying.
You're gonna have
What's in
to
the
dig
box with
for
the
it.
dots? I knew.
Oh my God.
You have like a little pop up next to your head.
But then by the time you're 22, you just want to earn some money.
Yeah, of course.
And I was never dedicated to the arts enough to starve for my cause. So the events was a good way in to still have a creative outlet, still do the tech, but not have to work back of house till 11 o'clock every night on a show.
So tell me about that role then. So were you like events? This is the thing with events. It's so broad. As an event manager, where do you stop and start? When you were doing those events in that first job, what was your role? Like, what were you doing?
Do you have any creative?
A lot of
kind of
creative,
outlet
but
on that?
it was more the concept we'd meet with a client, and my business is the same now. You meet with a client, you try and understand why they're holding the event. So somebody's paying for it. I've never worked in a ticketed sense. I've never put that kind of risk on myself, and neither did the company that I first trained with. And I've worked with other event agencies. You kind of work out why the client wants to do something, get those objectives, and then take it away and think, well, how can we do that? And then you've got the other factors like where do they want to hold it and how many people are they hoping to come. But it's trying to get that why. And at P3, we're still always looking for that, even if it's a smaller event or a larger event. Is it for the community? Is it for corporate clients? Is it for B2B? Why are you doing the event and what do you want to get out of it before we go to the trouble of planning it?
And so you were client facing all the way back then?
All the way back then,
Yeah,
major client facing, and having to then deliver the event in the Adelaide Convention Centre or the Adelaide Zoo or the Hobart, the Derwent Entertainment Centre, and go, I'm sorry, I'm not happy with what you're doing.
And have to 22-year-old.
And I remember having a fight with a guy, I'd love it if he actually saw this, Craig Walters, who was the F&B manager at the Hyatt Coolum, and I was managing this conference for over 1,000 people that were staying in-house for 5 nights, and it was my baby. I was 26, and I've gone in and had a meeting with him, and he said something that, no, you couldn't, we're definitely not moving those out to the patio. And I just went, yeah, that figures, Craig. Why would you help me now? Why would the venue do anything to help at this point? And he's just like, you can't speak to me like that.
Stick it to the man.
Stick it to the man.
Yeah.
And I did. And he went and told the boss and everything. And fortunately, my boss backed me up. But it was like, and he's such a nice guy. And I've worked with him professionally for years afterwards.
Have you?
But, yeah. But
Well, that was probably, maybe that was the switch where he started looking at you a bit more eye to eye.
Because I was my client's voice going, no, we want the tables there and we want it like this and it's not going to kill you. Move the tables.
So how do you teach being assertive? Like how,
it's
how
not an
did
easy
you
thing to
learn
do,
how do that?
and I think having that theatrical background and that confidence, and it might sound a bit on the wanky side, but if I've got 20 F&B staff and 10 tech crew and we're 5 minutes to doors and I'm doing my final stand by for doors, this is what's going to happen, we stand by for lights down, you have to have that confidence when you are at that point of stage managing. So I've had other people do it and heard them, and you can hear the shake in their voice. They're nervous. Doesn't mean they're not capable of passing on the message, but you have to have that assertion. And I don't think it's necessarily teachable.
Yeah, some people just.
I mean, public speaking courses can sometimes help to grow your confidence to talk.
Sounds like yours is a little bit more natural, though.
Mine
I think
was
when you're
innate.
very confident in what you do, and you kind of have that bit of, you kind of know you're good at what you do, you think you have the right to.
It's the turning point, and I hadn't thought about that argument with Craig Walters in so many years, but I think that's when I decided that I was going to fight for my event, for my client, and get the best out of it. And if that means when we're doing an outside community event and the idiots drop the toilet off and put it in the wrong spot, come back, move it, that's not where I want it. You haven't set your marquee up properly, or I don't like that linen.
For this.
So, yeah.
Well, that's what the clients are paying you
That's
to
right.
do, right?
I'm representing them and their brand. I've got to make sure it's done to the best that we can possibly be done.
It's good.
You're right. So you stayed with them for how long?
I stayed with them, and that's where I sort of ended up transitioning to freelance because
Right. Okay. Straight out of that.
their business was transitioning. I was working, for them, and that's at the same time that started the family and we started to have kids, and I was like, okay, well, I still need, this is my trade now. So I started
So you had kids when?
2000.
So how old were you?
Same
30.
year as me.
Yeah, right.
30, yes. So, yeah, I was like right from when I probably finished up when I was, before I got pregnant, just after I got married, and I was working on the Sydney Olympics. That shows how old I am because they did the soccer was held at Suncorp. So one of the companies that I was starting to freelance with, they did the opening ceremony of the soccer here. So that was the last one. I mean, my son was born on the 2nd of September, so the Olympics were 2 weeks later. So I kind of finished out then. And then because I'd had that little bit of experience and a few others, I just had a name enough in the industry that people would say, hey, can you come and stage manage something?
Okay.
So I would sometimes get called by an event company just to come in at 2:00 in the afternoon for the Mercedes E-Class launch or the
Wow.
the Export Awards or something. Get there at 2:00, run the rehearsals, all on headsets and calling, lighting, cameras and everything. Do the show. As soon as the band's on, night, I'm off. And
that was just you by yourself.
That was just me. So I was actually
wow.
a freelance event manager, but a freelance stage manager as well.
Unreal.
So I just learnt that skill.
How do you think that was for your personal growth?
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Huge. And at the point when, I'd come in on third kid
How did
now,
you do
second
that with
kid. Oh, second kid now. It was lovely to go and leave them. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to work. And somebody said to me once, I was at the convention centre Brisbane, and there was an 800-person dinner, and there was so many different calls with cameras and live feeds and table pickups for award winners, and I was calling all of this, and I was running through somebody said, how do you not get stressed? And I went, well, this doesn't stress me. A 4-year-old knocking over all the folded washing off the coffee table, that can bring me to tears. This never can. So
I think you thrive in the chaos of the event space.
Yeah, and the trick with
when
an
you
event,
can control it.
and this is something that people don't really talk about, whether you're stage managing a Broadway show or you're running a small event in a park, the person who's running it should always be 2 steps ahead of what's happening. Oh, okay, everyone's doing this on stage now. Well, I know that in 2 minutes this has got to happen, so I'm thinking about that. So you've always got to be ahead of what's coming next.
Do you think you've always been like that with the event stuff, or do you think that kind of came with time?
I think it just comes with experience to think, I can't be watching this woman singing on stage because I need to be thinking about the fact that I've got somebody on standby about to come on and thank her and introduce someone else. So you're always a couple of minutes ahead of the game. The second you actually participate in the event mentally, you're not running it.
So you don't think, even when like in your earlier days, do you think on a smaller scale you were still like that a little bit as well?
A little bit,
or just...
because of the responsibility.
Yeah.
And that's something that, I talk to any new staff that I hire. It's such a burden of responsibility. I think it's ranked in the top 5 most stressful jobs in the world is event management.
Really?
But we're not saving lives.
No.
We're not flying planes.
It's true.
If the balloon twist is late or the singer doesn't sing properly or the drummer misses a beat.
But it is something like, obviously, full disclosure.
For success.
Yeah.
I first met Penny, 15 odd years ago, working for Stockland, and at that time, I think we did some events like ourselves and used another provider as well. And I was like, I'll be able to handle this. And then we got Penny in to do one particular, I can't remember if it was the Country Music Festival one at Riverstone.
One.
Yeah. And then just seeing you in full glory, like doing what you do, I'm like, okay, I'm never doing events ever again. And I think that's part of it, is just, whilst it isn't rocket science, there is a method to it, and you do need to know what you're doing and have someone that can be assertive. And I think that's, that's why I wanted to have you on today also, is because more and more I'm feeling that, marketing managers in property development companies, they're asked to do more and more things as part of their job role. And events just is not something that I see at the moment. That's something that they can just do themselves. And so I think more and more, that's why we're seeing, all these events kind of being managed by P3 across. Oh, that's definitely what we send all of our events to, because it's a specialist skill, right?
It is a specialist skill, the same way that you would not expect a marketing manager to be able to be a graphic designer. You know, there's certain skills that, and P3 Events is an event management house. We, you know, I think we own some vases and a few bits and pieces, but we're not a tech company, we're not a theming company, we're not a stylist company, you know, we're not an entertainment agency. We are just the producers of events, creative designers of it, and implementers and producers of it.
Do you outsource a lot of?
We've got a massive supply chain, huge and long growing. And I've been fortunate to work with the cream of Australian talent and suppliers across the country. And, you know, I'm only as good as my suppliers.
Yeah, that would be awesome though.
It's
Get
great.
to see a lot, yeah.
And it's good. And you know,
doing what you love at the same time.
I've had the benefit of growing a lot of small businesses that I've employed and seen them grow because of my, you know, support of them in their early days and seeing them flourish, which is probably one of the most satisfying things of having had my own business, is not just employing people and feeding their family, but, you know, growing other small businesses in this country.
And before we jump ahead a little bit, I want to ask, do you have some advice specifically for, I mean, regardless of age, anyone who might want to go work for themselves or, you know, freelance, kind of like what you did? What do you think?
Look, it takes a hell of a work ethic, because, and you have to back yourself. You have to have the confidence, because there's nobody else is going to give you the paycheck. So you've got to have faith in yourself, and you've got to work hard to do it. It takes a lot of discipline, particularly because, as we say, working from home, but it takes discipline to start working, and it takes discipline to stop working and have a life and have a balance and have a family. I know that the biggest hurdle for me working for myself, and I was very comfortable working for myself. I mean, my husband had, you know, the proper job, as we always said. So he was the breadwinner, but I was certainly still contributing to the household finances, and as things got busier and everything, the hardest thing, and I remember when Suze went through it, is hiring someone. It's like, oh, now I'm responsible for somebody else's income. God. So that is the biggest hurdle, is engaging, I think, your first employee and saying, right, we're going to have enough work between us to pay you and me. And then it just, the second you do that, though, your business grows. I don't know why it happens, but every time I add to headcount, we get more work. And I don't think it's necessarily because they're going out and finding it. We just now have the capacity, so we can do more and we get more. The second you choose to move out of home and go into an office, things change. You become better at what you're doing, more professional, better organised.
But you think it's like important not to kind of jump the gun as well?
No, I think go into it slowly.
Yeah. So
start as a freelance. Just keep yourself employed, gainfully employed yourself. And for me, and I know that a lot of women end up in a freelance role because you have the ability to have that flexibility with family. And I, you know, if I wanted to go to, you know, book reading day or the excursion to the zoo, I went. So I was very fortunate that I could manage both. I would be still sending contracts and run sheets at 3 a.m. in the morning sometimes because it still had to get done. And the school holidays, you just wanted to shoot yourself in the foot because you couldn't get anything done. Bribery of jats and a swim, and you could get through another couple of hours. But yeah, it takes work ethic, it takes drive, and it takes a commitment to know that you're responsible for your own income.
Yeah. And then, so off the back of that, then what was like the moment when you had to hire your first person, and who was it? What did they do?
Again, I was just dabbling at it because I was like, you know, I don't really need anyone else.
And why did you? Oh, yeah, okay.
Because I got busy enough. So long story short, started the business here in Brisbane based off an inquiry from a council that said, oh, would you like to tender on a gig? And I had to actually have a business entity to do it, not just my sort of sole trader. So I kind of went, oh, okay, well, I've seen everybody else. I've been doing it for everybody else for years. I can do this for myself. So I had a punt and put the name down. And
why P3?
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, that's a good question.
See, this is the one that, you know, all my you know, business development people with me all my life go, never tell them why you. Because we now say it's plan, produce, perform.
Oh, of course.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
But that's not
it
the
was
job.
11 o'clock at night. I had to put this tender in, and I'm Googling all the business names. I went, I'm Penny, I've got 3 kids. That'll do.
Oh, that's
like
so
that.
good.
So
like
it came from that, but not really. Plan,
Yep.
produce,
Of course.
perform.
I like it. That's evolved.
I like both stories,
Brand has
actually.
We
evolved.
had to
Yeah.
come up with something.
Yeah.
Well, we felt that, the old story makes it feel a bit like a mum and dad operation, and by that stage we weren't. But yeah, no, I was working in Brisbane. GFC hit, so I just started. I just got my teeth in with stockies and was just rolling out some really cool gigs. And the GFC hit. That's the global financial crisis.
I do know
for
this.
someone-
Yeah.
don't-
2007, 8, 9.
8, 9.
Yeah.
And so it just happened that my husband had the opportunity for a promotion to go to WA, 3 kids, righto, let's go. So we moved to Western Australia, but I was able to keep the business going here in Brisbane, just, I'd fly in and fly out. Do a lot of drinking when I flew in and flew out. But it was like, hey, Penny's here for the gig, yay. Ooh. And then when I was in Western Australia, it was actually Cole Dutton who was working for Stockland and was the manager over there. And he said to the Stockland team there, I'm pretty sure Penny's here now. Why aren't you guys doing more events? And so thanks, Cole. So I started working on stock for Stockland in WA, but I was still working for them here and other clients and developers. And then, I was so busy in Western Australia that I'd done a job for a council, and I'd ended up working with this chick who worked in the council, and she was really good at all the stalls and markets and everything. And I got busy, and I rang her and I said, is there any chance that you've got like a day or 2 a week free? Only 4 weeks. I only need for 4 weeks. It's just if you've got time. And she said, oh, yeah, I can do that. And, by the time I left Western Australia 5 years later, she was working for me full time and running the Perth branch. So I'd just seen in her that organisation and skill set and said, oh, maybe just 2 days a week. I'm not really employing her. I'll just, pay her something. But took me a long time to put things on the books properly. So she was with me for 9 years.
Oh, wow.
So, I'm sorry, I'm butting in.
No, that's all right.
But and I know when we talked about the values that you had or the skill set you had of being a bit creative, a bit organised, well, very creative, very organised, and then the assertive, I think are 3 really good qualities for event managers, including you. Is that, do each of you have to have that? Like, do all the employees, are you looking for those sorts of skill sets?
They certainly don't all have that.
Yeah.
But I think, and as you know, some things are trainable and some things aren't. And I have seen in some of the key staff that I've hired over time that if I give them a creative task, it's meh. But I give them a logistical task and they're shining.
Yeah.
Their brain is right where I would be. They're saying, well, you can't come in that doorway because of this is going to... They're seeing it visually like that, but they don't want to come up with the creation of the prettiness. But then I've got others who are all fluff and ideas and loveliness.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do we get James Morrison into the ballroom on a yellow submarine? That's just not going to work, but I love where you're going with it. So it's clawing back the creative to mix with the logistics.
And
Do you
how
think-
did...
Well, I was going to say, do you think that helps you kind of delegate?
Does.
Where
and we
you
do
put
within
people in the
national team now, we certainly go, I think you'd be really good at this, or you got struggles with that. Go and see Bree because she's going to be able to logistically help you with that. So I'm trying to get them to teach each other stuff.
Have you ever hired someone that's gone for like a certain part of the team and then veered them into a kind of different role
yes,
because
to
you've
a
gone,
certain
okay, you're not as
extent.
good at this?
Well, I've hired people that I've seen skills in other areas, and I've kind of pushed them into that. So one of the girls that started with us a year or two ago, she started as an event coordinator, and she's a good event manager, which she is now. But she's a marketing assistant at the same time because she's got strength in socials and stuff like that. And it's not an area that I'm good at. I hate marketing.
That's what we're here for. Don't
Take
worry
it
about
personally.
it.
I would much rather do what I'm doing than what you're doing. You'd rather I do what I'm doing than
That's
what
why
you're
it
doing.
works.
I lose my mind trying to plan. I can't barely plan myself. I don't know how I'd do an event.
Yeah, but you are,
yeah,
male in your 20s.
That's
so
true. That's
there's
true.
not a lot of males
let
in
you know
our
that
industry. Just
Okay, fair
FYI.
enough. Fair enough.
So were you planning on it being more of a property focused company, or has that just been
No, and I'd certainly not been property focused in my training in my years. I mean, we'd done gigs for Stockies, Pack Pines in the old days, but I generally worked more in a full corporate environment, ballrooms and conferences and so forth, incentives. It's just happened that the first sort of main gig I got under my own brand happened to be a large Stockland display village launch up at North Lakes. And I remember, for me, it was the turning point. I think this might have been on your potential questions, was when did I think, yep, I've kind of made it? When you hire a tech company to come and do outside tech or bring gear to you, they use road cases, and they generally write on chalk on the road cases the name of the client. And I remember that gig, and it was a good spend and a good gig, and it went really well. But seeing those road cases coming off the truck with P3 on it, I was just kind of like, yep, okay,
That's
that
awesome.
feels pretty
Yeah.
good.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, and the gig went well, and I remember driving away just pumping the tunes in the car going,
Yes.
did it.
So
did it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And so
That is
did it just steamroll from there in property?
Yeah, it did. And I, as much as all of our girls in our team, and I say girls because unfortunately we can't seem to get blokes in the industry that seem
we
to
can
be
relate
have the
to that.
skills. Yes, because I'd like to be more diverse. But the team come together and they have these different attributes and skill sets, as we've talked about, but they are also coming from different types of event backgrounds. So we've got people who have been stylists, who've worked at Crown in Melbourne, so we've got the venue aspect, we've got, the people who've done wedding planning at Byron and so forth. So we've got a full gamut of types of events within our skill set, within our team. But for some reason, we seem to have niched into the property sector, which,
just by default, or
by
like,
default,
so you
but
didn't really lean into it, sort
I've
of.
done
It just
no
kind of happened.
marketing in my entire life. Honestly, if I take a client out for lunch, it's like, that's marketing done for the month. And as my husband jokes, he says, "You just wait for the phone to ring, don't you?" I said, "Yeah, pretty much." But we've tried to grow relationships with clients wherever we're working with them. And what's happened for us organically is when they've moved companies. Sue's a perfect case in point. Went from Stockland to Pete, somewhere else, and it was organic that when they changed companies, they kept saying, "Oh, actually, I've got an event company that I work with."
Yeah.
So that enabled us to grow, but it also kept us pretty much within the property sector, because most of the marketing managers, when they moved around, who were our client base as the marketing managers, stayed in property. So we are still working for most of the leading national property developers in the country.
Yeah.
And you call it the 3 R's. So we're working in residential with developers who are in the greenfield space, but also in medium density. We're working with builders in apartments, then also retirement and a bit of retail as well. So the property sector is so huge, as you guys know, obviously. It's not just about a community park event. It can be any level of incentive or B2B meeting or anything like that. But I think it's just that we've built a reputation in the property sector that is our core clientele.
Well, I was going to say, I meant to ask this a bit earlier on, but I was going to ask, what do you think kind of separates P3 from the others, or something that you guys maybe, I don't know, do a bit better, or not a bit better, sorry, that's going to be like...
Of course we do everything better.
Shots fired. But something that kind of sets you guys apart.
Well, I think it's a couple of things. It's one, it's the fact that we've worked in the property sector so strongly for 15 years. We really do come to the table with a lot of experience and ability to understand what property developers are trying to get out of an event.
Yeah.
Whether it's launching the new stage of a retirement village, whether it's getting engagement through the retailers in a shopping centre, whether it's getting the community to engage at Mother's Day in the park. So because we've worked in property for so long, compared to other event companies, we are at an elevated position in understanding the types of communities that they're working in and what they're trying to achieve out of it. And we've also got an impeccable safety record. And safety, if you're doing an event in the ballroom at the convention centre, there's, you do a little bit of a risk assessment, but no one really cares. When you're bringing the public to an outdoor venue and bringing all the infrastructure in, you're now actually being governed by the property developer's construction safety, and it goes to a whole nother level. So we've had to, engage with experts and build risk assessments and swims and everything for all the types. You put a marquee up, it could blow away. What is the correct weighting for it? So I think that's where we do differentiate from our competitors to a little bit, is our safety is at next level because of those years of experience. And the other thing that we've got, because we've got a big team, it just happens that we've got multiple staff and over the years living in these communities, understanding what it's like to be in a brand new community that's maybe a little bit, you know, out of town, and what they're looking for and the people that they're meeting and their neighbours. So we've got a little bit of inside knowledge in that sense as well.
Yeah,
I think passion, though, like from being a customer of yours, I could say, like, I'd always get excited when I have got an event budget. I'm like, Penny, let's do an event.
We've really got some money.
This is what I'm thinking. And you'd be like, right. But I think it's having the passion. Like you have been doing it for a long time, and I don't know how you do it, but you're always still passionate and excited to pick up the phone and let's talk this through and let me have a think of some ideas. And, you know, you can sprout off ideas like this, or, you know, if I give you enough time, you can go away and, you know, think
actually come up with good ideas.
come up with good ones. But how do you, I guess, you know, you must like the industry. Like you do events, but to be in property for so long and to have such long-standing clients, like you must like.
I do. I really do. And I think that we're actually, you know, if you do the export awards in the convention centre, that's lovely. People have had a nice night and they leave. We do, honestly, and it sounds so cheesy, we are making a few memories for families in some of these communities. We're making community connections. We're supporting, you know, startup community groups and local associations and stakeholders when you bring them in to an event. So there's a sense of satisfaction that you're actually helping grow these communities from the ground roots up. I mean, there's a couple of big ones that I personally feel that I've had a real growth in, a real part of their growth. So I think that makes it, you know, interesting. Plus, I really like the satisfaction of organising something and where I can do something differently. The only thing that ever rains on the parade is the budget.
I know.
Yeah.
Or
budget.
actually the rain. But
talking about budgets and things like that, I guess, how do you what's the best way that a marketing manager or whoever it is in a property company can work with your team? Like if you were to paint the perfect picture of how that would work prior to an event, maybe talk us through that.
Look, I think for the sake of the marketing manager's sanity and ours, the longer the lead time and the more forethought given to planning something out, even if those plans change. So even if the display village is not ready in time, or the Six not ready, or the park is not ready on time, at least you know it's coming in the second half of the year, or this is going to happen early in the new year, is start those conversations really early so that we've got time to put the creative input in and together as a team. We can get clear objectives out of why you're doing it so that we can build the creative journey for you. The longer the lead time that marketing managers can give to event companies, the better creativity you get, the better suppliers that are available, and the better negotiation ability on pricing. So, and you've got the chance to really develop and flesh something out and move it back and forward so that you've got a really good outcome.
So even if it's a very basic chat at the beginning, well ahead of time.
Flag it in time and say, we're opening a park in the southeastern corridor of Victoria. It's going to have an equestrian theme. It's like, okay, that's new, that's great, love it. Or we're doing something up the Sunshine Coast, it's a dinosaur themed park or something, even if it's a nothing themed, but we can at least start looking at not just what they want to get out of it, but who's living there, who's coming to this. And we're still learning every time. You've got to get the demographic right. If you put on a family day and it's all empty nesters and dinks, you've missed the boat.
And that's our job too, a little bit, right? Is briefing you.
Yeah, the more you can give us on the demographics. Yeah. Which is usually, there's a bit of everyone. It's like, okay, great.
And you guys so as a marketing manager, then just for people who may not know, they still handle the advertising and all of that sort of stuff. But I guess sitting together earlier will allow us to go, okay, well, how many numbers can we actually expect? Because sometimes I know working on the developer side, we might think, oh yeah, we'll get 100, but then there's a reality of actually what is possible. But I think definitely like what we've done before with Penny is sit up the beginning of the year. Like we've done all of our budgets for the year. So we know what the development milestones are. We know what's coming for those projects across a state and across a nation. So there's no reason why we couldn't, and we have before sit down and okay, well, all right, for Mother's Day we want to do all these across all these communities, or Halloween we want to do it all across the communities and plan and be more effective. I think
there's a new park or there's a new something that needs to. I mean, the builders have to be engaged with. They've got expectations of the developer. What are you doing on that? How can we help with that? So I think it's about communication as early as possible, getting us to come on the journey with you. We have so much value to offer from the marketing team. Might be collectively in that marketing property sector for 5 years. Well, we've been in it for 15. So we know what type of things work at events. Don't put a $20 burger truck out in a low socioeconomic area and expect them to all flood down and pay for that. They just
because it looks good,
Just because it's trendy. Food trucks are this. They can't afford it. They don't want to. They don't want to be put in that position of trying to feed the family for $80 at the park on a Friday night. So it's being able to offer that experience and offer that guidance. Oh, let's do lots of brand pop-up activations. Well, that's great, but what are you trying to get out of it? Are you really pulling traffic to this? And is it qualified traffic? And do you understand that the cost of that terribly pretty Instagrammable branded activation is probably not going to give you the return?
I know, like from our side, events are definitely important, and across the whole business everyone wants to do events. They see the value in them, which I think is also a testament to probably what you've been doing over the years. Is salespeople love to see events because it's people come to their community. It's people. CEOs or the C-suite love to see them because it sees there's action. Marketing, it's leads. So they're always seen as really positive. But I think, I think planning from the get-go as early as we possibly can is going to be important. But what I wanted to say was, how do you keep, with all of these developers doing similar-ish like display villages or family fun days, how do you keep it fresh and new ideas for those?
And it doesn't come without its challenges to keeping it fresh and keeping it interesting. We, as a team, we collectively come together to brainstorm an idea. So everybody has to come to our brainstorming meeting with 2 ideas that we haven't used before.
That's awesome.
We do love ourselves a little bit of Pinterest because it just gets ideas going, and we've got shared so many different mood boards that we're all accessing and sharing. So if you see something, we say, how could we do that? Like, how could we sell that? How could we pitch that out there? So we've kind of always got a little bit of a shopping bag up our sleeve of goodies that we want to roll out. We like working with the marketing team to try and come up with, using the objectives, a theme of some sort, because it gives the marketing team something to give to the graphic designers, something to hang their hat on. If you're going to say that you're going to open the Ellendale display village with a circus theme, tick. Everybody knows what a vintage circus theme might look like. Everyone's got an expectation of what they're going to see when they get there. So your demographic knows what the event's going to be about, and it makes us easier for us to deliver on theme. Whereas if it's just we need to open the village, what do you want to do? It's like, inspire me less. Let me come up with ideas for you. And that's often what we do as a team. We collectively, and we as a team try to go to things. You mentioned Royal Pines. So Royal Pines have just got the largest screen in a resort in the Southern Hemisphere. So we trooped down there on Monday night and had a look at it, and it is incredible. It's 24 metres wide, 6 metres high. They had awesome entertainment, incredible food displays. Very, very sexy entertainment, which is all through Velvet Rope, who are a great company that we work with. But the food presentation, it was next level, and it was put on by the venue. So by us going to things like that, we're constantly getting fresh ideas. The whole team are encouraged to go to events and markets and festivals and concerts, and unfortunately when they go to them, all they do is point out the safety issues going on. They haven't done that properly. That lead's not taped down. It's like judgy. They're very audity when they get there because we're so strict. But Jan Power's markets, they don't seem to be quite so strict on waiting down their markets. Because I always go there and I can't enjoy it. It's like, that's not safe. How can they be doing that? It's not safe. But no, I think it's going to things. It's working as a team, utilising, the diversity that at least we've got in backgrounds in our company, diversity in experiences, likes and dislikes, that we bring it together as a team. We did one yesterday. We were on the team chat for about an hour for Father's Day, and we had everything that was coming up going, bespoke whiskey tastings. Somebody else wants to do build a tent competition. And families have got to, get their Kmart pack and build who can build a tent fastest. Great dad bods.
Oh, gosh.
Bad father's jokes. So everyone was coming to it with different ideas of things that could be fun.
Yeah, that's good.
This does sound fun. I like the sound of that.
Oh, that bit's fun, yeah.
Yeah, no.
So what can we as an industry like property do? What can we learn from other industries or on how to do events better? Or
I think it's about making sure that what the event planners are planning is what you're communicating to your attendees or your customer base. We've now got it in our checklist that the team have to see the marketing that's gone out.
That's a good idea.
And we've caught different timed events. The marketing people have told the public it starts at 11. Some it doesn't. It starts at 12. But now we've got time to change it.
Yeah.
The barbecue's free. No, it's not. Now it is. So
I think I've done that.
Yeah, I'm sure you've done that to me.
Everything's free.
Everything's free. Come
Except
down.
Disclaimer.
So I think it's about making sure that they're sharing the comms that are going out for it, so that we can make sure that there's no big hurdle on the day that we've missed something, that they've called and told people that it's going to be an incredible winter wonderland and you'll feel like you're in the snow. There's one snow machine. It's not going to be that great. So, yeah, I think it's making sure that the expectations are clear, because all we ever want to do is beat the expectations. But if we're a little bit behind the game on what it is, we can miss it.
That makes sense. All right. Oh, very
And better budgets.
Well, yeah,
land costs
better
more.
budgets.
So, you know what? Everything costs more these days. So suppliers are charging more, and it takes more to build things and be bespoke and have things terribly branded and pretty.
Yeah.
So it's just keeping realistic on profit, on the profit that you can get from the event if you make a land sale or if you sell an apartment or whatever, that yes, everything costs more. So it's not we're not on pre-COVID prices.
Well,
nobody is.
With that though, what is like an example of like some of the smallest events you guys can do or have done, and then what are some of like the biggest events? Like, what's the kind of range?
It can range. It really can. And the thing about the event, no matter its size, it still has the same steps.
Yeah.
So it's still got to have a checklist and a site plan and a risk assessment and a run sheet and a contract and a supplier, and it's got to have all its documentation. But it might be just a really nice branded coffee cart and, some giveaways at the sales centre to help drive traffic. It could be just a surprise and delight event. Or it could be, we're celebrating, 20 years of this drilling company and we're going to take over a big venue in the valley and we're going to have loads of drinks and good food and live entertainment and AV presentations. We're going to make the walls look like you're drilling through them and AV and flying in and out stuff. So
sounds unreal.
We love doing the bigger
ones.
I know. We love doing the bigger ones because there's a bit more meat to it.
Yeah.
There's a bit more money to it, but there's a bit more meat. And I know the team get more satisfaction out of working on something sometimes for 6 months and then seeing it deliver and go off well, and that gives them that sense of satisfaction.
Probably a bit more spectacle to do a bit more as well.
Absolutely.
We do staff parties, like Christmas parties and stuff.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We love to do Christmas parties, end of financial year stuff. Yeah. I'd like to be working more in that conference space for property developers, rather than just thinking of us as your community organisers and your sales and marketing support events. We can actually work for that organisation.
Corporate side.
For the corporate side, helping with your AGMs, your conferences, your incentives.
It's just the same thing, right?
It's the same thing. Events are the same thing, whether they're little or whether they're big.
Do you want to do our pickleball tournament?
That sounds exciting. I've already
let it out the
ideas.
gate now. Everyone's just heard that.
Yes.
The property pickleball tournament.
We're
talked about this
a big
yesterday.
Pickleball comp. Big.
You guys are invited, P3.
No budget,
they can get
big.
in.
Oh, that sounds familiar. We want it to be really big. We've got no money.
Oh, that's funny. So tell me a little, we won't dwell on this too much because we've probably talked about it before, but COVID just jogged my memory when we were talking about smaller events. I know, on the flip side, on the positive side of COVID, it did kind of open our eyes a little bit to good quality smaller events. Doesn't mean the budgets are small, but doing really good quality smaller events can be hugely impactful. Do you want to talk about anything that, how the business went through COVID and what you did differently?
Well, we just hung on to it by our fingernails, basically. If it hadn't been for the JobKeeper, I would have had to just about close down to myself.
Crazy.
Yeah, right.
So, and it's not one that's talked about across the sector. Everyone talks about, the tourism sector and the hospitality sector, but the music industry and the events industry is worth more to this country than either of those sectors, and it just got a little bit looked over the top of. And I know suppliers and colleagues that really did it tough through COVID, so I was fortunate to just tick along. I think what we've come out of the other side of COVID is two things. One, yes, the events need to be a little bit more purposeful and bespoke. They need to be very specifically targeted and marketed correctly. People liked being at home, and whilst they missed going out, they now only come out if they really want to come out. So is it good enough to make people pack up the family and come out on a Sunday afternoon? So I think it's making sure that it's something that your attendees really want to come to, or really want to give up their Saturday afternoon, or really want to go on that conference. Are they going to get value out of it? Is it worth them making the effort, basically? And what I think has also transitioned, because we were online so much during the pandemic, everything's very visual. And now when we do an event, it's what does it look like? It's very much, it's the experience is half what it looks like. Was I able to take a photo of myself in front of that, and could I send it to everyone I know?
Yep.
It's
That's
more,
all we care about
it's
these
the
days.
it's the Instagrammableness of it. And therefore, are we representing the brand in a really good light because it's being so photographed and so shared? So they're the two sort of drivers. What's the purpose of people coming to it? And have we pitched it the right way, and are we delivering it? Or have we, again, those expectations missed the mark? And are we making it look good enough?
Yeah, and then have you
looking
captured
good
it?
takes money.
And then they promote it again, right?
Yeah,
so they want to see the pictures.
If you do it right,
the video,
then you've got it all again, and you get, 2 bites of the cherry.
2 bites of it, yeah, I agree. So I guess on reflection, maybe if you think about another little Penny that might be real, I don't know, tenacious 19-year-old or 20-year-old or maybe even a 40-year-old that wants a career change, like what is the advice that you give them, like with your wealth of experience, thinking about, maybe I might get into event planning, like what sort of advice would you give them?
Look, it is a great industry, and it's a growth industry, and it's at least now recognised as a real proper career, which it wasn't at the get-go for me. It wasn't even considered. I think sometimes it's thought of to be a little bit more on the glamorous side, which it's not. So if you're coming in to do events because you really fancy meeting a celebrity in the green room and you're really good at styling tables, it's not that. It is a physically and emotionally draining job. You end up with sore feet, sunburn, blisters, headaches, addictions. Some of us do. But you have to have an incredible work ethic.
Yeah.
It's about celebrating your small achievements, because it's very, as I said, it's an overlooked kind of role sometimes. So if you can't get satisfaction out of rolling out a small event, then don't expect anyone else to give you a pat on the back for it. So be able to be satisfied easily, and managing your stress and keeping things in perspective. Family health, way more important than anything you ever do for a living. Yeah. So it's kind of being a well-rounded, balanced person, and having a bloody good work ethic and an ability to just kick on and, put stuff behind you and get on with the job.
So what is the event that you can remember that you were nervous about but then turned into just a mammoth success?
It's funny because you mentioned it before, but it was one of my favourites, was that Riverstone Crossing event, because I hadn't done a country-themed event for a long time. I'd done them in my early years at Nambour Festival, Nambour Showgrounds and stuff, and I was so keen to do one again. So there were a lot of moving parts to it, wagon rides and whip cracking.
Harvey? Oh, Adam Brandt. Who was the singer?
Now you've got me. No, one of the
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
He was a cowboy with a nice hat, and he was really nice. He was a proper Australian country singer. Yes, he was a celebrity. I've got a photo with him. Oh, it'll
Doesn't
come
matter.
to me. So we had a celebrity, and we had a bucking bronco inflatable
Hay
ride
bales.
thing. Hay bales. You couldn't do a bucking bronco now. That would be safe. Wagon rides, and we got R.M. Williams there to do a stall.
Oh, wow.
We had a really good lot of elements, a lot of moving parts to it. You know, fortunately the sun shined on us, which is
So I
always
think it
a
was
blessing.
a bit cloudy or at some point.
Yeah,
that
but
day.
it never rained.
Yeah.
And a really big turnout, and it was such a nice community development, really beautiful spot.
Looked nice.
It looked good, and we were able to do it and deliver it well. And it's nice to just nail the brief and please the people and walk away knowing, you know, we
was
got that one
successful.
right.
Yeah.
So that was one. I mean, there's lots like it. But yeah, sometimes the big ones you just want to get them over with when they're really big. When you've got 1,200 people in Hawaii, you just want to get that over with and get out of there. But yeah.
So what's on the horizon for
Yeah,
P3?
what's going on for P3? Anything
Look, we're
coming up?
we're always trying to expand into new markets and different sectors.
Is there any markets you haven't cracked yet that you really want to?
Love to get into the pharmaceutical. They spend pots of money on stuff, bribing doctors. So yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I did in my heyday. We launched the Pfizer.
Wow!
Yeah, with my first sort of stint in the career, and that was so much fun. So yeah, pharmaceutical I reckon is a really good industry. I'd like to do more in the retirement space, even within property. I love working in retirement. They're the most appreciative audience. They really are just touched that you've done anything to help them make their day better or make them feel welcome.
Yeah.
So I love working in retirement. I wish we could do more in aged care because I think that doesn't get enough
I
of
agree.
a look in. And now even the developers are separating retirement from aged care. They don't kind of want any of that. It's hard work.
And maybe that's like it's a good point. Like we've done events together in that industry where the aged care, even if it's an integrated community, they're not invited or they're like separated. And I think it's a compliance or safety. There'll be some significant reason, but it's like we've got to do something better there. Like
I would like to be doing more in that space.
Yeah.
And from a business perspective,
get her in contact with Mum. She's the marketing manager for aged care company. So
I feel that they miss out a bit.
Yeah.
Or if they get it, they probably get a real C grade effort. And I think from a business perspective, for me, I'm looking to hopefully get a GM in place. Some already have it.
Yeah.
A GM in place in the next couple of years, so I can just maybe sort of step back a little bit and get the business as itself to be an entity very much that's almost a bit irrelevant if I'm there or not. And the mechanics are there, the team are there. I'd like to grow Melbourne more because Melbourne's such a growth area for us. But yeah.
Do you think your team's trending towards that way?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Is that something you've been pushing for in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I'm trying. They're very much clients go direct to the team now.
Yeah.
So
cool.
it's just, Penny's in the background and they know that I'm always there and always ready to jump in and help, but they have the comms direct now, which is awesome. So I try to work on the business, not in the business, where I can, because it runs smoother. The second I have to down tools and start event managing, one, I don't follow the templates properly and I go rogue and ideas. No. And the rest of the team are going, why didn't you do this?
Not as I do.
Yes, do as I say, not as I do. So I think if I could grow it a little bit more and get a GM in place in the next couple of years and just explore a few more sectors would be fun.
Cool.
What's the next event coming up?
We're doing a large one at Royal Pines, actually, which is one of the reasons we wanted to go down and check out this screen. There's a national mowing distributor called Cox Industries, and we're doing their trade show, their conference.
Cool.
Bit of a plenary session. They're doing mowing demonstrations out on the lawn, so we had to negotiate with the landscaper at Royal Pines. Can you not mow that bit for a bit? Yeah. So it'll be fun, and a gala dinner and poolside drinks and some live entertainment. So it's nice to be doing something that goes for a couple of days, not just the 3 hours on a.
Is there any coming up that you're most excited for, like that one, or is there anything you like?
That one's good. We've got a couple of Display Village launches that we're sort of starting to draft for later in the year. They're always nice. Yeah, nothing sort of majorly that's mind-blowing, but it takes a lot to blow my mind these days.
You've seen it all. You've seen it all.
I've done a fair few, so yeah. No, it's more about keeping busy, making sure that we've got plenty of work coming in to support the team, and that everybody's got the opportunity to learn.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you for your time.
Oh,
Yes, thank you
for
very much.
having
That
me.
was awesome.
That was good.
Very insightful.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good. No, it was nice to
Thanks
to
for
catch
all
up.
of your
fun.
years of keeping me calm and cool, collected.
Oh,
and
I like being able to. I mean, I've probably not mentored you, but I've
Yes,
given you some
100%.
advice a couple of times,
Yeah.
and I've been so fortunate that my husband's he's climbed the corporate ladder, and he has been my sounding board at
You
every
rock.
You
step
need
of the way.
those. You need those
and
people.
he's a silent director, not often that silent, but he could be silenter. But he's been a great support in how to handle something with staff, or how to how to approach a client when they're disappointed with something, and how to chase up a lead. So he's been the rock behind
Oh,
that.
that's good.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, shout
You
out
don't
to
have
him.
to do
Shout out to
all
him.
of the things that he says, but it's good to be able to get a different opinion that you might go, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of that and a little bit, and then
Yeah.
turn it my way.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a good sounding board, and he's also the one that will sometimes say to me, "Don't take it so seriously."
Yeah.
It's
That's
not.
really good
Yeah,
advice.
so
yeah.
he's quite grounding in that sense. But we're both ways, so I help him too.
I don't doubt it.
Do you want to plug anything before we go?
Look,
Straight to the people.
please see if you can find us on Instagram. We really
Trying to grow the socials.
We really are definitely growing the socials. And we're really trying, they're really relevant. We're not putting random stuff up there.
Yeah.
If it's up there, we photographed
Valuable.
it. It's our event. It's truthful. So our Instagram, we're trying to push. We do have a quarterly newsletter. So if anyone was interested to find out what we're doing, or, and there's a bit of bloggy stuff in that takes you to the website. That's something that they might like to subscribe to. And yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. So shout out at any time to me on LinkedIn.
Cool.
Share it.
What socials are you guys on? All of them?
Insta
Yep.
and Facebook. I'm Facebook
Those are
because
like
I'm
your two
old
favourites.
school, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn.
The children in the business look after the Instagram. And they say, Penny, you didn't like it. I went, oh, I didn't look at Instagram.
No TikTok?
today."
No TikTok or anything?
Oh, no.
I feel like you
can't.
guys could really thrive on TikTok,
Yeah,
though,
I
with like
should.
the,
And
events
look,
and
if
stuff.
they want to go down that path, they
Yeah.
can knock themselves.
I mean, I'm not even. I don't even use TikTok because I'm like, if everyone else is addicted, so I'm like, I don't even want to open it. I've got it, but But I feel like you guys, I could just picture you guys.
So I know that there's
Yeah.
TikToks out there and chit chat. Oh, that's what Brian calls it. Snapchat.
Yeah, Snapchat.
It's not
Chit-chat.
chit-chat, Snapchat. So, Same. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, we the Instagram we're definitely trying to show because it's so visual. It's such a grab. And Facebook, while I think it's really still got a good place for us, it's
Yeah.
probably a slightly different demographic.
For sure. Yeah.
Good fun.
Yay, that was fun.
All right. Well,
Let's wrap it up.
thank you again, everybody. Hope that was a great episode. Really like that. What do I always say? Follow us on Instagram, as always. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on all our socials and subscribe. Like this video if you had a good listen. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, everything.
YouTube.
Yeah. Cool.
Great.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thanks,
Pen.
Penny.
Yay.
It's a wrap.